instance, you were running for a councillor's position or what have you, something that had to undergo votes, how much sleep would you lose over the votes that you didn't get? Because the majority of leaders get into their position by a margin of 3%. So it's 53% they have on their side. So there's 47% of people who don't like them, who don't want anything to do with them. So do you really think they lose sleep out of the fact that 47% of the populace don't like them? No. What they want to do is serve the 53%, their landslide, to the best of their ability. That's all they need. And that's all you need. It is not physically possible for every single person to like you. So the question is, do you, and you've got to be honest with yourself, do you like everybody? Just have a quick think about that. Just have a think about who it is that you don't like. It isn't everybody, is it? You don't like everybody on this planet. So don't you think then that your expectations of everybody liking you are unrealistic? Now the question is, if you've got people in your life who are very picky and very judgmental towards you, how important are they? You know, I know family can be that way. I know it's difficult when you've got a mom or a dad who is critical and what have you, but at the end of the day, you can't change your mom or your dad or your siblings or what have you. It's just the way they are. And if you buy into the criticism that they come out with, then you are going to wrap yourself up in circles. Now, one of my clients has got a very difficult sister, very attention-seeking, very me type of sister. And she gets triggered every time she goes to visit her, every time. And she'll go and spend an afternoon with her, then come back and chew it over for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. So through the process of working with me, we have now got this chewing over from 48 hours, we reckoned it, from every single visit that she had with her sister. She would spend 48 hours picking apart the interaction, the time that she spent with her, and chewing it over and looking at what she did and why she did it, and should I have said this, and maybe I should have behaved that way, and I don't think she should have behaved this way, and it went on. And we worked out it took about 48 hours every time that she saw her sister. And using some of the processes that I have, she's now got it down to 2 hours. So it hasn't gone totally, but 2 hours in comparison to 48, she saved herself 46 hours. Let's say she sees her twice a month. You do the maths on that one. So family, there's nothing you can do about the way that family is. Family will behave the way that family does. And family is the biggest challenge that you have. That is the biggest sort of mirror up to you that you have. So for instance, with this client of mine, she was triggered by her sister because her sister, as she was growing up, was getting the attention that this person wanted. She was getting the things that this person wanted. This is a younger sister, by the way. So what this older sister does is still plays out the same games and pulls up all of those feelings in my client. So all of the young, all of the childish, all of the childlike responses and behaviours come up in my client whenever she's around her sister. That's normal. But on the other hand, is it normal to respond to something the way that you would do when you were 6? Because that's what's happening. There needs to be some sort of celebration into adulthood. There's a lot of tribes do this, where They literally, you get to your cycle, or you get to your manhood, and then you have to do some sort of ritual, some sort of celebration. And it's like a severing of the ties of your young self to becoming an adult self. And that ritual actually breaks it. So you end up with a lot of tribes do this, but we've lost that skill in the Western world. So what happens is we put all this behavior, all of this childish behavior into the current time, because if we acted this way, then we got that. And if we acted that way, then we got this. And if we spoke this way, we got that sort of attention. And if we threw a strop, then we get that given to us. Or if we behave this way, we get told off. But those patterns in the Western world we carry into our adulthood. You know, I've seen, in fact, I know my son-in-law's grandma, she's in her late 70s, and she acts like a 7-year-old in a supermarket to get what she wants, because she doesn't understand there's another way to do it. So I'm not blaming anybody, and I'm not criticizing anybody. But what I am saying is that our behaviours need to be upgraded, updated, and taken into adulthood. And this sort of ritual that a lot of tribes have, where the guy's got to go out and prove his manhood and go and hunt a tiger or whatever it is, or the woman has to go and sit in isolation for 4 or 5 days to embrace the fact that she's a woman, breaks this cycle. Actually somewhere instructs the subconscious that now I'm an adult, I can let go of all that behaviour, and I now have to think in the way that an adult does. And we don't do this in the Western world. But we're going to stay on the topic of sort of tribalism and primal behaviour, because all of this need to be accepted, all of this need to be liked, all of this sort of yearning for people not to judge us, not to be difficult with us, to actually like us, comes from the primal driver. So the primal driver, if you can think about us being in small tribes, however millennia ago, where we were living in huddles and we were living in caves and so on, we needed that tribe purely for safety. Purely for safety. If there was lack, then we got fed. If we were sick, then we got looked after. So we needed to be with other people so that we had some form of protection, some sort of security, and obviously to find a mate. The thing with that, though, is that that instinct still runs in us now. So we have this urge to be in a tribe. We have this urge to be liked and to be looked after and to be protected by other people. But the thing is, it doesn't run in the Western world. It doesn't run in this world at all. So we have that instinct, and then we pile other stuff on top of it. Now, if you take yourself back to the cave times, or whatever you want to call it, the primal times, the things that we worry about now didn't exist then. So they're not worrying about making sure people like them. They make sure that people are accepting of them. They do their chores. They contribute to the society that they're in, their little group. They go out and they do their hunting. They mend their fishing nets and so on. So they do all of the tasks that they're meant to do together. We don't do those tasks. We don't need to carry water. We've got a tap that turns on. We don't need heating. We've got a central heating button that we put on. So there's no labour. We don't do this labour. Yes, we work. It's a different thing altogether. How do I know? Because I lived in the jungle. I used to have to go and carry my water. Not for a long period of time, I must admit, but for, I think, probably the first 6 weeks that I lived there, I had to carry my own water. I didn't have hot water. So everything was very, very labour intensive. And I certainly wasn't worrying about the minutiae of what people thought of me and what they didn't think of me. I'll come on to the Philippines a little bit later because it taught me a lot. So that's a primal thing that runs in us. And the thing is, because that primal thing runs, we get triggered, we get little pings, and our minds, our big Western fat minds go, oh no, what am I going to do if Sarah doesn't like me? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Now, the other childish behaviour that comes up, if you think about it. Okay, so you've got the primal program that runs. The way our system runs is very much in the same way. So you've got the tribal pack. Then you get to teenage years. Teenage years is the time that you leave the pack and you go and find a mate. And then the chances are you start up your own pack, or you join up with a few others and you start up another pack. So what happens is you step out of the pack and you're scanning around for people who look similar to you. So for people who have a similar identity to you, for people who have the same sort of energy, the same sort of chemistry to you. I'm talking primal times, not now, but the same thing runs now. So we're constantly, this day and age, looking out for people who connect with us in some way. And when they don't, we think it's something wrong with us, or we get bitchy about them. But the fact is, you just don't, it's not a fit. Do you have a jigsaw puzzle and you're trying to put puzzle pieces in from different jigsaws, they're not going to fit. But we get into our heads, oh, they're wrong or I'm wrong. So I've digressed again. So, what happens is you build up another tribe. So the same sort of cycle goes on. So you find a new tribe and you reproduce and you all look after each other and you all go out and do your chores and what have you. It's a very, very simple life. In fact, on the membership program, I'm going to be interviewing a lady who is an expert on living in the Stone Age. And she was featured on the Channel 4, if you're in the UK, you'll know it. Secrets of the Stone Age, it was called. And Naomi, lovely, lovely lady. But of course, she has lived out in the wilderness as a Stone Age woman with her husband, Dan. And I'm going to interview her so I can actually get into the psyche of how people lived in primal times. Taking the primal times up to now. So we have a sequence. We have a sequence as we grow up. So our very early months, we are in our own minds where we don't really have an identity. We're not identifying with anything or anybody. We are just accepting the fact that we are of the whole. We are just there. We're complete. Then as we develop, we start to notice that we're not necessarily complete. It's like, oh, that's my hand. Oh, what's that? Oh, that's not part of me. Oh, that's mommy. Mommy's not part of me. Then we go into separation and we start to form our identity. And our identity is formed on really closely watching the people around us. The thing is, when we get into adulthood, we don't need that, but we still take that behavior into adulthood. So we don't need it. So we're looking around for the tactics to use to get food, the tactics to use to get comfort, were the tactics to use to feel safe, to get clean and so on. So all of these different tactics that we put into place. And if you're a mom, you know there's a different cry from a baby for different needs. You get used to it quite quickly. To the outside ear, they all sound the same, but they don't. If you're a mom, you know that those cries mean different things. And that's where it starts. So you're trying different tactics as you're getting older and you're developing your identity. Then you start to watch out for approval strokes. So if I do this, then that happens. And if I do that, then that happens. And if I behave this way, then I get that. And if I do this, then I get told off. And then if I do such and such and so, that gets me this reward. So we're looking out for a reward-based system. And again, we carry this into adulthood, and we don't need it. Because what happens is we bring those behaviours into adulthood and we act them out in adulthood and we look like absolute dickheads, but the majority of us carry on doing it until we become aware of the behaviours that we're acting out to get what we want. It's very, very simple. The thing of expecting other people to approve of us is this need to get an outside confirmation that we're okay. So as we're growing up, we go into, we go off to primary school, and then we're looking around and we're looking at teachers. So how do I get approval of teachers? What do I do about my playmates on the playground? And the younger and the more innocent kids are, the more brutal and the more gentle and kind they are. They're either one extreme or the other. So they're learning different behaviours in those very early years as to how to interact with the peer group. How to, so, you're playing with a truck and Johnny comes and takes it off you. And then you go off and hit Johnny because Johnny's taking your truck and you get told off by the teacher. So that's a behaviour that you go, I can't go and steal stuff off Johnny because I get told off by the teacher. So that means I'm not allowed stuff, whatever belief that has put in you. So we pick up these beliefs, we create these beliefs. Then we go off to secondary school, and that's where a lot of absolute and utter transformation happens, because primarily that's the age that we are when theoretically we would leave the clan and go and find another clan. We would go and find a mate. So sort of 10, 12, 13 or what have you, we would go off and find a mate. So we go looking out for other people who look like us. Now you recognize this from your teenage years, or maybe your own teenager. They are going to be in little cliques, in little clans of people that suit them, that look like them, that act like them, that have the same beliefs, they have the same values. And as a consequence, if they get ostracized by that crew, it's really painful. So again, they're out there looking to make sure they can stay within the tribe. And I'm talking Western years now. I'm not talking, primal years. I'm talking nowadays. I know that within 4 weeks of my daughter going to college, her personality had totally changed. Not for a bad thing, but all of a sudden she was independent. All of a sudden she knew everything. She did the teenage thing. And that's because they are forming their own sense of identity, because at this point in time, they're getting ready to leave the nest. It's a primal driver. It's an absolutely primal instinct. Obviously, we're not thinking about it consciously when we're doing it, but that's what's happening. And again, we take that behavior into adulthood. And to actually get ostracized from that crew when you're a teenager is very, very painful. It's very painful when you fall out with your best friend at school, when you're little. It's very painful. So as we go into adulthood, we are looking to see who approves of us. Who is it that likes us? Who is it? Are we okay? Is it okay? In that person's eyes, am I okay? Now, the problem is that you're looking outside of yourself for approval of yourself. And if you're constantly looking on the outside for somebody else to approve of you, how do you know who you are? How do you know who you are? So, for instance, if you know people like this, okay, so you're sitting at a restaurant and they're all talking away, and somebody says, oh, I love Indian food. And this person goes, yeah, I really like Indian food. And somebody else says, oh dear, seriously, Indian food, isn't it? I don't like it. It's all really mucky stuff. And that person will go, yeah, it's all right. It's all right. And then that person will turn, but I love Chinese food as well. Chinese food's really great. And then somebody else goes, oh, no, Chinese food, it's all right. Yeah, I know. And that they constantly shift. They're constantly shifting themselves to fit in with the approval of whoever they're with. Now, to a certain extent, that's people pleasing. People pleasing takes it even wider than that. So if you're people pleasing, I've got news for you. You're being manipulative. You might not like me to say that to you, but you are. If you're a people pleaser, you are being manipulative. It's not wrong. It is wrong, but it's not wrong. So don't beat yourself up about it. Oh my God, I'm the biggest people pleaser. Oh, no, don't do that. I'm explaining to you why it's manipulative. So if you're a people pleaser, what you're doing is you're shifting yourself to suit the sensibilities of that person in your life. And when you move over to that person, then you'll shift your sensibilities and yourself over to fit in with that person's version of how you should be. And then you go and fit in with a certain other person, and you fit in with a certain other person. Okay, can you see the problem here? Where are you? Who are you? And more importantly, who are they to dictate to you that you need to change? But the reason you're changing your personality is because you want to fit in with that person. The thing is that if you get to the center of you, you get to the whole of you, you belong to yourself, you approve of yourself and all of your faults, all of your foibles, all of the things that you don't like, you still approve of, then you'll stop people pleasing. And then what will happen is there's a fear that people are going to leave you. Now, the thing is that if people do leave you when you stop people pleasing, you don't want them in your life. Because if you are a people pleaser, you get pushed around, you get used, you get abused. This is all speaking from experience. You get trashed on, you get shat on, you have no respect from anybody, and also nobody trusts you. Nobody fundamentally trusts you because they have witnessed the fact that you're this person when you're with them. And they've also seen you be this person when you're with that person and this person when you're with that person. So nobody trusts you. So when you get to the point where you are totally and utterly content and complete with who you are, and that means warts and all, because we've all got faults. We have, and don't try and fix them, don't make them wrong, don't think that you're broken because you've got a, I don't know, whatever fault. I can't think quick enough. It's 6 o'clock and my brain's dying. Maybe I should do this at a different time. So you basically embrace the faults that you've got. I'm forgetful. There's one of my faults. It's just the way I am. I'm forgetful, when I'm sitting in front of a full-paying client, but I don't apologise for it. It is just part of who I am. I'm untidy. I don't apologise for it. It is part of who I am. If I really wanted to do something about it, I'd become tidy, but I don't. So I could list them, but I like all of my faults. And when you can get to a point where you like all of yours and you are solid within yourself, then what other people think of you actually doesn't matter. And then what other people think of you, they can take some of what you say and like it, and they are also allowed to take some of what you say and dislike it, but there's no conflict there because you're fine with who you are. And you accept the fact that not everybody's going to agree with everything that you say. Because to actually expect everybody to agree with everything that you say is mental. It's a mind fuck, because it's not going to happen. It just isn't going to happen. You are going to get people who don't agree with what you say, and that's fine, because we need to see both sides of each coin. Wherever we stand, we need to be able to see the other side to make sure that we're standing in the place that we want to stand. So the question next, though, is if you're fearful of judgment. So you're fearful of judgment. And that can be quite daunting. So, for instance, me, I get really uptight if I have to hand a paper in because I know it's going to be judged. That's whoever's marking the paper or whoever's looking at the paper's job. I'm writing at the moment, I'm writing a book. I have to send it off to my editor. I would have done a few years ago, sent that in with dread, knowing that that person is going to be picking it apart, picking faults with it, suggesting corrections and so on and so forth. Now I don't care. I send it and wait for the response to come back, because the response I don't see as criticism. I see as help. I see as a shift. Oh, look at it this way. What about such and such? That sentence doesn't scan right. Try this. So if anybody's criticizing me and they are being genuine about it, I'm quite happy to sit and listen. If somebody's criticizing me to be nasty, who cares? Who cares? Why would you care? If somebody's going out of their way to be nasty to you by being really critical, oh, look at that dress. Oh, oh my God, you're so, why have you got them in your life? Why are you hanging around with people like that? Okay, family exception. Family excluded out of all of these statements. I'm talking specifically about pals, friends, and so on. Why have you got them in your life? If they're work colleagues, why are you listening? Because it's none of their business, and neither is it none of your business to know what they're thinking. So if you're scared of judgment, the question I want to ask you is, who do you judge? How often do you find yourself judging? How often do you find yourself judging other people? Think about it. Think about it. Start to notice it this week, because you'll be surprised at how often you'll judge somebody. I was out walking today with a dog, and somebody got another dog was disciplining on a really tight lead, and I'm like, well, I could hear myself doing. I could hear myself. Almost to the point where I wanted to go over and tell the woman that she needs to do it a different way. But I let it go very quickly because I caught myself being judgmental. We do it all of the time. Now, being judgmental, fundamentally, back to the primal times, is not a bad thing. We need to a certain extent. Again, not so much in the Western world. If you're walking down a dark alley, yes, you do. But in primal times, when you came across a new person, you had to very quickly assess whether that person was safe to be around or not. Are they going to kill you? Are they going to be all right? And we still do that now. It's an instinct. It runs in us all of the time. So don't get uptight when you notice yourself judging somebody. Just remember that it's a primal instinct. Just notice that it's in your consciousness. I'm judging, and just let it go. A very gentle tip I was told by Jamie Cato was, if you notice yourself judging, then put on the end of it, not as I would choose to. So try this with me now. So think about, I'll give you an example. I was on the bus some weeks ago, and there was a woman who'd got, in my opinion, a horrendous hairstyle. Horrendous. It was just really not nice at all. And I sat there and I could feel that coming up in me. And I put the little phrase on the end, not as I would choose to do. Now, what happened was, instead, if you just now try it, come out with a really judgmental phrase and feel how it affects your body. Because that judgment isn't actually hurting them. If you're saying it in your head, it's not hurting them, it's not affecting them, it's affecting you. So it's like, I love the saying, it's like picking up a hot coal to throw it at somebody, all the while it's burning you. So when you notice the judgment come up, then shift it and put on the end of it, not as I would choose to do. So try it with me. Think of something that you've been judgmental about, or something that you tend to judge, all right? Say it without that phrase on the end, and say it as you would normally. So, oh my God, look at her hair. And you can, if you are properly in tune with your body, feel that in your system. So you're feeding your system with that. Now try it again. Oh, not as I would choose, on the end of it. So, oh God, look at that woman's hair. Not as I would choose. And notice the release of that sort of inside, that feeling inside. Just notice it. So being judgmental and you getting scared of being judged tends to come from you, yourself, being judgmental of others. Being scared of being judged for what you've done or what you need to be assessed on means that you haven't got any faith in what it is that you're being judged on or being assessed on. So go in for the judgment. Listen to what they've got to say. Don't take it personally, because whatever they're feeding back to you is what they call constructive criticism. I wish there was a different word for it, an assessment, I don't know. But the common word is constructive criticism. So hear it as construction. Hear it as advice. Hear it as help. And then you will start to go, aha, right, okay, I'll put that in. Okay, I understand that. Yeah, all right, I'll do. At the moment, I'm doing a huge written project. And for me, it's excruciating. And I have to send it off every sodding week to get assessed. But I don't worry about it when it comes back. I'm really grateful for the feedback that comes from another pair of eyes looking at this for me. So criticism isn't necessarily a bad thing. Criticism, get out of your own flipping way and just listen to what's being fed back to you. If somebody's criticizing you to be spiteful, to make you small, to put you down, then get them out of your life. Get them out of your life. When you get to the point where you stop being a people pleaser, then people will fall out of your life because you're not giving them what they want, because you're being you. And everywhere you go, other people around you are holding up a mirror to you as to what you're like. And you've got to start to recognize that. So if somebody's been really spiteful, then they're picking up on something really spiteful in you that maybe you haven't vocalized. You haven't vocalized, but it's inside you. Because we read each other energetically. If you're picking up on somebody being absolutely gorgeous and kind, then they're reflecting that part of you back at you. You know, when we fall in love, I think I might have mentioned this before, but when we fall in love, you know that saying, oh, you complete me. It isn't the fact that the other person completes you. It's the fact that you found somebody, say if that's you and you want to find that bit, it's the fact is that you found somebody who can actually access that bit in you. So this bit in you is operating, but that bit you want to find. So along comes somebody who can actually activate those bits of you that you can't reach by yourself, and you put it onto the other person. And everywhere we go, we are mirroring back to ourselves what we have inside us. So if, for instance, you squeezed an orange, what would come out? Pure orange juice. If we squeezed us, we would end up with resentment and bitterness and hurt and complaining and whinging and whining. It wouldn't be pure us. Now, if we can notice what's reflected back at us and accept, dissolve and let go of all of those negative feelings, they stay around, but they don't impact on your life. It's like, oh, hello, depression, here you are again. Nah, don't particularly want you. Very nice. What are you pointing me towards? When you can accept all of those, when you get squeezed, out comes love and out comes kindness, because these negative parts of us aren't controlling us any longer. So what I'd like you to do now, can you just very quickly think of a scenario where maybe you got hurt by somebody else's actions? Maybe something came up where it didn't feel good. I'll give you an example for me. I used to work in a pub close to where I am, and there's a particular client in there who I used to get on very well with, chat away, really loads in common, great. His wife lives away in a different part of the country. They come together once every 3 weeks or what have you. And I was out walking, hadn't seen him for months. I was walking the dog and I was like, hi, hello, hey. And he absolutely, that was it. And I was really, really shocked. And my immediate response was, oh, how dare he? That was really rude. Oh, well, what's the matter with... And I went through the whole gambit. What's the matter with me? What have I done? Have I said something? I did the whole thing. He's nasty and there's something wrong with me. That's what but very, very quickly, very quickly. So the question is, go and find a scenario like that. And if you need to pause the video and start again, That's absolutely fine. If you're watching live, then obviously you can go back in and watch it afterwards and stop and start. So find a scenario that triggered you, all right? And I want you to ask the questions. What was my immediate response and why? The next question is, what is it that I believe for that immediate response to be true? What is it that I believe for that immediate response to be true? So my immediate response was, oh, you're really nasty. Oh, what's the matter with me? Obviously doesn't like me very much. So what I had to believe was the fact of him chatting to me in the pub when I was working there was false, was a facade, was him people pleasing? No. But that's what I would have to believe. Okay, so you understand where I'm coming from. So that question is, what do I have to believe for this immediate response to be true? All right. Next question is, what could the other reasons be? What could be going on with them for this to be the reason? So with this guy, it could be that it was the first time he'd seen his wife in 3 weeks. Secondly, he doesn't particularly like to stand and chit chat when he's out walking. He wanted to spend time purely with his wife. Thirdly, there could have been some bad news, or they were discussing tactics about something that they didn't want to be interrupted. Who knows? None of them to do with me. None of them to do with me at all. But I don't know. So go in and find out what other things could be going on. Taking out the bitterness, taking out the blame, taking out the hurt, and put your logical examination hat on. What else could be going on there? If you hang on to blame, it's like hanging on to that hot coal. So go into that. Now, that's an exercise to do time and time again, every time it gets triggered. The next question is, in that situation, what was actually in my control? All right, so my control in that situation was I could say hi and then I could control my response, but I couldn't control his response. So there's nothing in my control there. What could I have had an influence on? I could have had a hell of an influence on him if I got nasty with him and said, oh my God, what's the matter with you? Oh, and had gone into my immediate response. I could have had a hell of an influence. But I could have also, which I did do, have a sweet influence. Smiled, carried on walking. Didn't upset his day, and my day was upset for a little nanosecond. When you get into the habit of doing this, you process it very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. Initially, it's quite clunky, like learning to write or learning to drive a car. It's clunky initially, but when you get into the practice of it, you can switch things like this around in seconds. So the next one, the next question is, if that situation arose, how would I react differently? So if you keep those questions and keep them written down, because you'll get triggered from time to time to time to time to time. The next exercise I want you to do is go into find somebody in your life that, I'm thinking of somebody already, that you find difficult to be around for whatever reason. For whatever reason. Now, the person you find difficult to be around, like my client's sister, what was happening was the sister was triggering up old responses and old needs in my client. Now, if you're with somebody who is difficult to be around, then they are triggering something in you that isn't being looked at. That doesn't mean there's something wrong. It just means that something is not being looked at. So what you do is, okay, so think about that person and the triggers that come up in you. And when I say triggers, most people think of the sort of huge, overwhelming responses. Triggers can be anything, just a very quick response. It's just an easy word to use. So think about that person and think about the triggers that come up in you and feel where they are in your body. Okay? And now what I want you to do is look at that person. Remember, this is in your imagination. I'm not asking you to do anything at all at the moment. This is in your imagination. Look at that person. And all of those negative feelings that were coming up, just put them to one side for the moment. Just pretend that they're not there. How do you feel about that person now? I should have a little sooty person here, shouldn't I? I haven't got one. Oh. But her. My African belle. She's beautiful. Right, okay. So, here she is. So how do you feel about that person now? You put all the negative stuff down and put it away. Look at that person. Look at that person acting out in the worst way possible, in the most triggering way for you possible, doing all of the shit that they do that really irritates you, upsets you, makes you angry, whatever it is. They're doing all of that, but you're watching it without all of this reaction. How do you feel about that person now? Okay, so if you are, hang on, I'm going to phrase this properly. If you are about to go and meet this person, okay, you've got no choice, you have to do it. On a scale of 1 to 10, where's your resistance? How high is it? Pretty high, huh? Because it's there. Okay. So what I want you to do, shut your eyes for me. I want you to give me permission to talk to your subconscious and your superconscious. Remember that your superconscious is the part of your brain that basically can govern everything, but it is totally immobile. It's not bothered about whether you're feeling happy or whether you're feeling sad. Your subconscious is also the same. It's not bothered. The only thing it's interested in is you feeling safe. So your superconscious actually controls the whole lot, but won't intervene. It's just like a manager, just, it's chugging along. So give me permission to talk to your superconscious and your subconscious. Okay. And go into the feeling of what it feels like when you know right now you've got to go off and meet this person. Feel it. Good. Okay. Superconscious and subconscious, can you see? Can you see those triggers? Can you see that resistance? Superconscious and subconscious, please go in and do a massive change history. And tell those parts of the personality that have been working so hard for so long to keep you safe, to keep you in the format that you're used to, that they are safe and they can stand down and come back and be welcomed into the whole of your matrix. With gratitude and with thanks. Thank you for keeping me safe. All of those aspects of your personality that ping up, they're doing this for protection. So bring them back into the whole, into the matrix of the whole, with gratitude and thanks. And conscious and superconscious, please go in and talk to those inner beings, the wounded child, scolded child, the warrior, the judge, the jury, the persecutor. Go in and heal those aspects so they're no longer triggered. Please go in and do a massive change history, and also back through the timeline, through the ancestral line, through the mother's line, through the father's line, going back as far as is needed. Go in and do a massive change history. 3 deep breaths. Breathing out with a sigh. 2. 3. Good. So where's the resistance to going to see that person now? You remember me saying about my client who we saved 46 hours of? Now it's 0 hours. Did that exercise and she doesn't have that issue anymore. She goes and sees her sister. She sees her sister as the actress that her sister is, playing out the role of the sister, doing what the sister always does. The triggers are no longer there. So, I've got one more meditation to do, and this is beautiful. So bear with me a second, because it is scripted, and I want to get my script right if I possibly can. I have to find my glasses, because I can't see a thing without them. So nice deep breaths, get yourself nicely settled. Dropping down and down and down into a beautiful, warm, dark, deep place within you, knowing that you are absolutely safe. And all the wisdom that you require is actually within you. All of that connection, all of that spiritual connection, all of that connection that you need is right there within you. And this meditation is all about finding a new freedom. So take a deep breath. And another deep breath. And just begin to observe your own mind. And we'll look into your memory bank. Today, we'll release any places where the flow of life is restricted. Just like a stream that has a big boulder or a dam in the water. The water will not flow smoothly. And places in our minds and in our hearts where we have hidden resentment and blame create those boulders and dams that restrict the flow in our lives. As our bodies pick up grime and dirt due to the mere act of day-to-day living, so does our mind and our emotions and our soul. And those hidden and known resentments, blame that we hold on to, create those boulders and dams the flow in our life. It's not possible to have a restriction of flow in one area of life without it affecting other areas of life too. There are situations where we have been hurt, or we have issued hurt, where we have done things we wish we hadn't done, and we didn't do things we wish we had. People have done things in our life that we wish they hadn't, and didn't do things that we wish they had. And so, as we go through life, we come to this realizing that expecting perfection in ourselves in the world around us and with others, it is an unending rabbit hole to lose yourself in. Because we are not here to be perfect, not here for the world to fit in around us. We are here to progress. And learning what transformative forgiveness is, you will find that you will use it again and again and again. And as our bodies and our clothes pick up dust and grime along the way, we wash them. And in the same way with our soul and our emotions, they need to be cleansed on a regular and repeated basis. Because life rolls on and we do not come out untarnished. Doing this, we cleanse our perceptions, cleanse our emotions, and cleanse our clouded way of seeing things, so that we can have our experience of life without the dread of what's in our history getting in the way of our journey. Resistance and resentment, conscious and subconscious, is like picking up that hot coal to throw it at somebody when it burns the person who picks up the hot coal. And we can find the places in us where the strict restrictions to our flow is, where there's a bit of contraction that creates the obstacle to flow. And we're going to release that flow. And no, it does not remove what happened. It doesn't take it away. It doesn't make it as if it never occurred. That we were able to have that experience without that experience having to have us is our aim. We are able to find some learning in it, some compassion, actually for everybody in the scene, including ourselves. And we find over time when people in that scene come to mind, even though we may never want to see them again in our lives, we are actually able to wish them well. And that is the place that we're headed with true forgiveness and the freedom of forgiveness. When this person comes to mind, we have done our work enough so that we can truly and simply wish them well, regardless of how they have been, or who they have been, or what they have done, regardless of how we have been, what we have been, or what we have done. This is the time when we recognize that every one of us humans is flawed and perfect at the same time. We take responsibility to bring good into this world through our work, through our relationships, through our philanthropy. And so we release our flow now with forgiveness. Scan the smooth surface of your mind, and you'll find many people when you think of them. It'll be with expansion when you think of them. It'll be with love. It will be with ease. It will be with flow. And situations, when you think of that person or that situation, you feel some regret or hurt or disappointment. And right now, as best as you can, become the observer of that situation. And imagine that you're floating above the scene, looking down at this thing taking place, and recognizing that every person had a role in that scene. And it isn't your job in this moment to understand. It's not yours to feel resistance to it. It is yours to observe. It's yours to know that somehow in this perception, I feel contraction. I want to have every moment of my life as learning. Every moment has brought me to this moment that I am meant to be in right now. I don't have to understand it all, but I can be grateful, even if I would not ever want to have this experience again. It is somehow part of who I've become and has brought me to this moment of being. in a meditation, being open to a greater good and being interested in giving my gifts to this world, to like who I've become. All of this adding up to becoming this wonderful person that you are right now, and to know that you are far more wonderful than you will ever know, that you may contain more than you even know right now. So to every person in this scene, whether it's one person or a group of people or lots of people from different areas, where you are in that position above the scene, to every person in that scene, you say, may I be truly happy. May you be truly happy. May you live in peace. May you walk in the ways of truth and light. May you know love. May you be truly happy and know true love. May you be truly happy. May you live in peace. May you walk in the ways of truth and light. May you know true love. And then you take that attention to yourself. May I be happy. May I be happy. May I live in peace. May I walk in the ways of truth and light. May I know true love. May I be happy. May I live in peace. May I walk in the ways of truth and light. May I know true love. And this is to everybody. Spread this across your community, across your family, across the world. May we be truly happy. May we live in peace. May we walk in the ways of truth and light. May we know love. May we be truly happy. May we live in peace. May we walk in the ways of truth and light. May we know true love. And with the out-breath, let it go. And again. One last time. Do this meditation as many times as you need. Any time that you feel that restriction, go in and meditate and send love to those people that are allowing you to put down that hot coal. And then meditation is the very last in the meditation vault. It's got a little pink heart on it. So I'm going to love you and leave you, okay? Thank you so much for being here. And you want to get a recording? Oh, that's lovely. Thank you, Elise. It does. It's a beautiful meditation. And it'll be different. Every time you do that meditation, it'll be different. So go back in and visit the recording when I put it up. I am taking quite a long time to do it because I'm quite busy. So I make a promise to myself that I will try and get it up by next Monday. Go back in, but go and do the meditation. It is there for you to listen to again in the meditation library. The very last one, it's got a little pink heart. And just start to check in with yourself when you start to feel judged or judgmental. Check in with yourself when you come up against something in somebody else that you don't like. Go through your checklist that we went through. Okay, now listen, tomorrow evening, that's Thursday evenings, you are very, very welcome to join the Q&A session. If you've got a specific Q&A, you know what I mean. If you've got a specific question, email it to me, okay? And let me know that you want the link to the Thursday session. You have to do this every single week. If you want to join the Q&A, this is the law for the Q&A group. If you want to join the Q&A group, then you send me not necessarily a question if you haven't got one, but if you have got a question, send me the question and then a request for the link. If you just want to join, just send me a request for the link. So if you want to join me, you are absolutely and utterly welcome. So have a fabulous week, and I will see you next week. Bye.